Well, last week we were on the Nevada Northern riding the fireworks train.
Oh, that was so much fun.
Oh, that's the best 4th of July ever.
Oh, no kidding.
But while we're here in Ely, we want to look around and get inspiration and ideas for the model railroad.
Oh, absolutely.
Because sometimes when you come here, it's so easy to get focused on the trains and forget to look at the buildings and the other stuff that's around here. It just kind of gets absorbed into the background.
Right.
And you forget to look around, and there's just great stuff that's every bit as great as the trains.
Yes, except for me. I look at this stuff and I want to go nosing around because it reminds me of being a kid and kind of poking my nose into places I shouldn't, like this sort of thing.
Well, and for me, the absolute taboo place of all taboo places was the railroad yard.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, you're not supposed to go down there, but
Nope.
that's exactly why I was down there all the time.
Well, there's cool stuff. You gotta go look and see what makes it go.
It's probably why I fell in love with trains.
Absolutely.
But just like this tank car here, I look at that and the rust and the faded lettering and the way there's black paint at the bottom and rust at the top. And I want to be able to duplicate this look on the model railroad.
Sure, it's realistic.
And one of the great things about the Nevada Northern is there's such a interesting and unusual mixture of equipment here.
Oh, no kidding.
And you look at some of this equipment and it's like, I'm not even sure what they use this thing for.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. I'd come up to you and what is this?
Is that maintenance equipment? I don't know. I think this might be for spreading ballast, I think. But as I'm looking at it, I'm also looking at the wonderful rust and the weathered wood. And like this car, it's got somewhat fresh paint on the metal, and yet the wood is really disintegrated. And yet also, there's going to be stuff that looks fairly new.
Exactly.
This tank car here that has a nice fresh coat of paint on it. And that's something I love doing on the railroad, is that mixture, that really weathered stuff and then other stuff that looks pretty new.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things I really wanted to pay attention to and to really photograph and document are all of the bits and pieces of track, these piles of maintenance equipment that's just track maintenance stuff. Because where I'm doing the handcar set out, I want to have all kinds of switch frogs and switch points and this kind of stuff that we see right here around the set out building for the handcar.
Right.
And you see this all the time. It's all over the place on the railroads, but then it's like trying to remember what it looks like. If you've been following along on the channel, this is the handcar setout that I've been working on for weeks and weeks. And I think I've made up about 50 of these spike barrels so far.
Oh, aren't they fun, though?
Oh, I love a spike barrel.
Well, they're fun anyway, but yeah, just to sit there and make those things, make them up and spikes.
But I've got a little open area here, and I've got all kinds of salvaged turnouts. And so I'm just going to take frogs and points and all kinds of bits of rail and tie plates and have all that stuff right here with the handcar set out. That should be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the handcar set out is just part of the engine shops. And the handcar set out building itself has a combination roof on it. Part of it's a hip roof. And this building right here has a hip roof. And you see so many hip roofs used in all kinds of architecture of the 1920s and so on. And it's like, well, I wonder why hip roofs were so popular.
They're not hip? I always thought they were just hip.
It's like totally hip, man. No, but if you think about it, there isn't that much more shingling material that goes onto a hip roof than a gabled roof, and you don't have to build a gable.
Well, that's a thought.
And on a masonry building like this one, where building a gable would be a lot of extra trouble, building a hip roof is much simpler.
Yes.
So this is the shed for the handcar set out, and it's a combination. So one part of the building has gables, and the open part where the spike barrels and stuff is going to be stored is hip roof.
Wow.
And I just love the look of this combination roof where it's part hip and part gable.
That sounds like
Part
a movie.
gable, that's a movie star.
Yeah.
Part gable movie.
Yeah.
we digress. Anyway, isn't that neat looking?
Oh, I love it.
I just love the look of these combination roofs like this. Okay, now here's something that a lot of people wouldn't pay all that much attention to. The power pole.
Not me. I'm always fascinated by power poles.
Well, we've gone a little bit nuts on how we do our power poles, and so I took a lot of pictures of power poles just because sometimes it's like you'll see them a million times, but you're really not 100% sure of what you're looking at until you actually get your nose right in there and study how these things are put together and some of the unusual features. I mean, look at the oddball wiring going on here.
Yes, and that fascinates me.
And then these little tiny transformers, what we're used to seeing in modern situations are much larger transformers. Some of these early transformers are really quite small.
Yeah, is that a transformer or a Coca-Cola can?
And this pole is out in the middle of the yard, and I just fell in love with it because it's got so much going on. It's got some high voltage lines near the top. It's got a gooseneck light for lighting up the yard. It's got cross arms going off in 3 different directions. And it even has a more modern communication line on there.
Wow.
And again, you see those, but you don't really pay any attention to them.
Oh, I do. I pay attention to them because what the heck is that?
Well, you've been kind of a fanatic about this
since
stuff.
I was little, I was fascinated with power lines and electricity.
And here's something you see along a lot of railroads, modern railroads, where there's a ton of wire up near the top of the poles, and it's all come loose, and the insulators are broken, and the whole thing's just a big tangled mess.
Yes, and over on the hill, I expect to see Wile E. Coyote plastered against it.
But these were old communication lines.
Yes.
And on the era that we're modeling, they'd still be in use. But on the modern railroads, this has all been replaced by microwave and whatever, and they're not really using the relay systems like they used to use. And so a lot of these wires that fed the relay systems and the signaling is just falling into disuse.
Right.
And so if you were doing a modern railroad, this would be a fun thing to model, are all of these tangled knots of old signaling wires.
Yes.
And this is a fun feature. On the earlier poles, they used to put these footsteps, these stirrup steps or whatever, and I love modeling this.
Right, when I was a kid, I saw those, and the power man who used to go up there to service the power pole, and I thought, I wonder if I can get up there.
Yeah,
My dad give me that look.
Yeah,
Don't you dare.
But this is so fun to model just using railroad spikes.
Right.
So all of our poles have these footsteps. You can see it here on this pole in the switching yard. And as one of your transformers.
Yes.
You made all these insulators and transformers that we've used in all kinds of different places around the railroad. I have yet to string the wire between the poles. That'll be one of the last things I ever do, because once you do it, then if you try to do scenery or anything, you get snagged on the wires and rip your whole layout apart.
Oh dear.
For that reason, I like to use like an elastic. So
Right.
if you do get snagged on it, it doesn't rip everything loose. It has
Yes.
some give to it.
Right.
And we have the perfect thing to use for power poles. I have a whole box full of dowel. At some point in time, I bought all this dowel and left it out in the yard
Oh,
for like 30 years.
well, that would do it.
And boy, does that make some good-looking power poles.
It sure does. So when you build a power pole, leave it out there for 30 years. So when you're building a transformer, I just use some brass tube and then reshaped another little piece of brass to go on top of it. Just glue it and then sand it so it's kind of smooth with some kind of sandpaper. And of course then I painted it and made another little strip to go around it with the mounting bracket. But what I've used for the screw on that is actually jewelry wire and a little seed bead for the little bolt that it goes on. And the same thing for the insulators and the wires.
But once the transformer's mounted on the pole and everything's all put together, boy, that looks nice.
It looks fun. It looks familiar. When I was a kid, that's what streetlights look like in our town.
And then the magic is always when you turn the lights on.
Yes, that's always fun.
And in this case, the wires are actually functional.
Yes.
So it's just fun. Now, while we're on the subject of wires, we do a lot of knob and tube. And we did knob and tube wiring here in the locomotive shed up on the logging railroad.
Right, and for some you might have to explain knob and tube.
Well, back in the day, they put bare wires and then wired the whole building together using glass insulators.
Right, and spacing the wires apart. So
Yeah,
you touch.
because if they touch, they'll short out.
Oh, of course, but it's actually a very efficient way to wire something. And these are my little seed beads. They're commonly used in, Native American jewelry and shoes and things like that. So they're very tiny, but that's what I use a lot for like insulators and even little nuts and bolt screw things on something a little tiny like that. Now in the case of the longer piece of bead, it's actually the same kind of glass bead as the top one. They just come in longer pieces, and so you can get those about in any color. These are white, but just use a little section of one of those to complete the look.
And then we mount them in the rafters of the building, just like you would on a full-size building,
Right.
and string the wire from post to post like this, just bare copper wire. And just like on the prototype buildings, we run the power through it.
Yes.
So this is kind of fun. The engine shop up here, all of the knob and tube wire is actually functional.
Wow, I wonder if it has a bus fuse.
Well, if it does, it's
There
because
we
you
go.
built it, yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
So all this stuff is actually functional, and that's what powers the building.
Yes.
But it wouldn't be any good without a power meter,
No, you gotta have a power meter.
and that's your specialty, is the power meter.
Yes, and the fuse box and all the rest of it. So the power meter is simply one of those, from a blister pack of a pill, I think a cold pill. Just be careful you're pushing the pill out not to damage the little blister pack, and they make really good power meters. And the meter behind the printed part is something I found on the internet and just found the right size and printed it. The wires are just little jewelry wire, red and black, that represents the hot line and the neutral.
And it's handy to have the color coding because some of what we're using here are surface mount LEDs,
Yes, and they're that color.
and you have to keep your polarity straight.
Absolutely.
Or they won't come on.
No.
But this is so fun because all the lighting here in the building is all powered through the knob and tube wiring.
Right.
And these are the interior fixtures that you built for the
Yes.
building. And I love how those turned out.
Oh, those are fun.
And while we're talking about electricity, this is an earlier train. This was the haunted train last
Yes.
Halloween.
Yes,
And number 7 here, well, it was having some issues.
it sure was.
And so I think after the haunted train, they decided to completely go through car 7 because, well, one of the problems they were having was electrical problems.
Oh, that's not fun ever.
And the lights wouldn't come on, and then they'd come on, and then they'd go off, and they were having a lot of trouble with this generator, which was being as stubborn as a mule.
Yeah, as they can be, yes.
And they were having so many problems, and they rigged an extension cord to a different car, and that wasn't working, and then they got the generator to start, and then it sputtered and coughed. Anyway, I think they decided to completely give up on this system and just frankly go through the whole car and redo it.
Right.
And we were very happy to see when we got back out there that car 7, the Ely, is just all fixed up, and it's just beautiful now, and it has a nice brand new generator.
It does.
And one last thing we wanted to show you, it's just something fun. They were demonstrating a lot of things around the rail yard here. And what better thing to demonstrate for the 4th of July than rail torpedoes?
Right.
So if you know anything about torpedoes, they're little tiny slices of dynamite
Oh, dear.
that can be strapped to the rail in an area where you're working. So if a train errantly comes into the area where people are working, they will run over these little pieces of dynamite, and they're supposed to warn you to not go down there. And they're rather loud. Well, now that's what I call 4th of July fireworks.
Yes.
It did not disappoint. Between the fireworks train and now the torpedo demonstration, this is a great way to celebrate the 4th.
Absolutely.
And frankly, we just love coming out here for any reason.
Oh, anytime we want to come out, yes.
It's just fun. And we hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did enjoy the show, and if by chance you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to the channel. And the easy way to subscribe to the channel is to click on the upcoming blue button. Zoink! Right there, the blue button. Well, we're not sure how you found this video on the internet. We hope you didn't find it boring, and we will see you here next Sunday. We'll see you then.
We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.